As Tony leaned over to get my sketchbook, his eyes challengingly on mine, I leaned over too and clamped my hand on top of it. His fingers gripped the book, but I held firm. "What's the matter?" he asked. "Sorry," I said. "Hey, look," he said. "No offense. I just wanted to see if you're as good an artist as Red says you are." "Tony, don't call me that," said Sheila, annoyed. "Sorry," I said again. "I'm keeping sort of a diary in there, too. Kind of private." He raised his eyebrows and smiled for the first time, but it didn't go all the way up to his eyes. "Aren't you a little young for romance?" "Tony, knock it off," his sister said. Tony's eyes never left mine. "Come on," he said. "Let me see it." My face felt redder than it probably was. There was a short, strained silence. Suddenly, Sheila broke it. "Mark, draw him," she told me. "Draw Tony." I glanced at him. He looked at me a bit mockingly, then raised his right hand and flicked at his hair. "Go ahead," he challenged. "Straight on or profile?" "Profile. Left side would be best." He tipped backwards on his beige metal folding chair, pivoted on one of its legs, and clunked down into position. "No charge today, right?" Cammy giggled from across the table. "Don't move your mouth if you know what's good for you, and he'll make your nose too big." I flipped open the sketchbook to a blank page and studied Tony's profile for a second or two while I unclipped my pencil from my shirt. His forehead was ordinary, and luckily his nose was pretty big to start with. His eyes, steady and unblinking, had not the slightest trace of wrinkles at the corners. "Careful on the nose," I reminded myself. Now the toughest part, the lips. People who are having their pictures drawn always change their mouth positions several times, trying to make themselves look handsome or pretty. And Tony was changing his. I had to go for a sort of an average, and I hastily sketched it down. Then the chin. Don't give people double chins, even though they might have one. And the curve of the neck. And a bit of the shirt collar. Then up to the ear, getting it level and far enough back. Next, the sweep of the hair up over the top of the head. One of the mistakes a beginning sketcher makes is to draw the head too narrow. I've drawn some conehead looking pictures in my time, and I've learned my lesson. "Done yet?" Tony's lips didn't even move. "Give me 15 more seconds and I'll have it," I murmured, shading in his hair. "How's it look, Red?" I could tell Sheila was annoyed at Tony's nickname for her, but she leaned over to look. "Not bad. He's got your eyes right." "How's the nose?" asked Cammy. "Too big," I said automatically before Sheila could. "Let me take some of it off." "While you're doing that," Sheila said, "I'd like to invite you all over to my house this Wednesday night for a Dutch Blitz party." "A what?" asked Cammy. "A Dutch Blitz party," Sheila said. "Haven't you ever played Dutch Blitz?" "Sounds like something you'd get at Dairy Queen," I said, drawing Tony's eyebrows. "Look, my neck's getting stiff," Tony complained. "Just fake the rest of it, okay? I'm done." I gave the picture a final squint, turned it around, and began making my usual apologies. "I got your nose a little big, and normally I have my marker with me so I can black things in more. And I've never taken any art classes, but Tony eyed his picture for several seconds. People do that when they finally see themselves as somebody else sees them. Boy, I thought I'd look better than that, he said. Want it? I asked him. I'll take it, Sheila said without a pause. I carefully tore it along the spiral rings and gave it to her. She thanked me. Don't forget the Dutch Blitz party, she reminded me. Wednesday night. Cammy, Guy, everybody, you'll love it. Monday afternoon is often catch-up time at ye old bookstore. In the summer, Mom closes the store Monday morning so that she can take a break. But she opens up again at noon to catch the lunch hour crowd. Today, Dad had hurried in from the college for a couple hours. Mark, he said, tossing me a huge feather duster. Better start in local history and just work your way around. Yucko. I know I'd help you, but Mom and I have to go through all that estate sale stuff this afternoon and see what's sellable. That's okay. I found the rolling ladder in religion and philosophy and trundled it over to local history. I think I saw some art books in the load. Cool. Can I have them? You know the rules. If it's sellable, we've got to put it on the shelves. If no one's bought it in 3 months and you still want it, you can have it. I climbed the ladder and started flicking dust off a fat green book called Happy Hours Among the Five Lakes. How much longer do I have before I get the Oxford? His chuckle sounded farther away. With the magnifying glass? Yeah, that too. How about another month? 2 weeks? It's your mom's, really. Better ask her. The door creaked shut and I was alone. Well, at least dusting gives you a chance to think. If your brain doesn't die first from lack of oxygen. I thought about the Hamlet's problems, the restroom signs, the bench, the banner, and maybe even the purse. I thought about Guy. I even prayed about Guy as I was up there on top of the ladder. Up there I felt a little like God, looking down over all the knowledge in those volumes. God knew more than all the thousands of authors whose books stood in stacked rows around me. I wondered what God thought about everything. Did he really care about the Hamlet vandalism? He knew, of course, who was behind it. But how would he deal with it? Ding! We've got an antique doorbell on ye old bookstore front door, and it always makes me jump. I gripped the top of the ladder and leaned sideways, trying to see who the customer was. I filled my lungs with dusty air. A polite, "May I help you?" was hovering on my lips. It was Sheila. I took another breath. Should I say hi, Red? While I was debating the possible results of this, I stopped cold. Sheila was walking slowly. Her head was down. She glanced up once at the white cards thumbtacked to the end of the shelves. She passed the shelves labeled literature, fine arts, and reference, and turned in at the religion and philosophy. Carefully, I pulled myself upright, trying not to make a sound. Wonder what she's looking up. She's never seemed like much a reader. What religious question does she want an answer for? I mean, it was weird. Shell seems so upbeat, so cool. She always acts like she knows exactly what's happening and where her life is headed. But the way she was walking, it seemed like something was bothering her, and she needed to find some answers. I kept dusting, and Sheila quietly kept looking through the books. Now and then I'd hear a slithering sound in the flipping of pages. Once she dropped a book with a thump, and then she appeared, and I ducked down. I immediately peeked up again, and she was walking toward the door, head down in thought, almost gliding. And then the bell dinged. I scrambled down the ladder and walked over to religion and philosophy to see if I could deduce what she'd been looking at. But she'd been neat, as she always was. Nothing was out of place. Next morning, Tuesday, I was awakened by the ringing of the phone downstairs. I rolled over and glanced at the bright numbers on my alarm clock. 6:30. "Molly," I heard my dad say. "Molly, talk slower. Now say that one more time." Then silence. "I'll be right there." I heard Dad hang up the phone. Then he said to Mom, "Molly Wang." Somebody sprayed gang graffiti all over poor Polly's pantry.